For over 3 decades, she's been the voice that defined an era, the songbird supreme, the queen of Christmas, a living legend whose 5-octave range has soared across generations. But beyond the glittering gowns, the record-breaking hits, and the diamond-encrusted microphones, Mariah Carey's love life has played out like one of her power ballads. Equal parts romance, heartbreak, and undeniable drama. From whirlwind marriages and high-profile engagements to secret flings that sparked some of her iconic lyrics, Mariah's romantic history reads like a chart-topping playlist. Unforgettable, layered, and full of stories the public has only glimpsed. And in today's deep dive, we're pulling back the curtains on the men who've shared the spotlight with one of the most celebrated artists in music history, the confirmed relationships, the rumored connections, and the love stories that have left their mark on the woman behind the voice. So grab your tea, because we're going beyond the headlines and straight into the heart of Mariah Carey's dating history. Welcome back to E-Lex TV. Now let's get into it. Before we get into the love stories, let's set the stage for the woman at the center of it all. Mariah Carey, born March 27, 1969, is more than just a singer. She's a songwriter, producer, actress, and one of the most influential figures in music history. Dubbed the Songbird Supreme by Genius World Records, she's known for her 5-octave vocal range, melismatic style, signature whistle notes, and a persona that radiates pure diva energy. In 2023, Rolling Stone ranked her as the 5th greatest singer of all time, and for good reason. Her rise to fame was meteoric. In 1990, she dropped her self-titled debut album, and in a feat that's never been matched, her first 5 singles, from Vision of Love to Emotions, all went straight to #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. She dominated the charts and throughout the 90s with best-selling albums like Music Box and Daydream, before redefining her sound with hip-hop influences on Butterfly in 1997, a move that helped shape the modern pop and R&B landscape. Even with setbacks like the infamous Glitter era in 2001, Mariah made one of the most iconic comebacks in music history with 2005's The Emancipation of Mimi, one of the best-selling albums of the 21st century. Over her career, she's earned 5 Grammys, 19 World Music Awards, and a spot in the Songwriters Hall of Fame, selling over 220 million records worldwide. She holds more Billboard Hot 100 #1s than any other solo artist, spending a record 97 weeks at the top. And of course, we can't talk about Mariah without mentioning her crown as the Queen of Christmas. Her holiday classic, All I Want for Christmas Is You, has become one of the best-selling singles of all time, returning to #1 decades after its release. But while the world knows the music, the awards, and the glitter, Mariah's personal life, especially her romantic history, has been just as captivating. And that's where our story begins. Our story begins in the early 1990s when a young Mariah Carey was just stepping into the music industry, and the man she would soon marry was one of the most powerful figures in it. Tommy Mottola, the head of Sony Music, first heard Mariah's demo tape at a party in 1988. Legend has it, he was so impressed he left the event early, listening to the tape over and over in his car on his way home. He called her the very next day, determined to sign her, and he did. At first, it was strictly business. Tommy was the mentor, Mariah was the rising star. But as her debut album skyrocketed to the top of the charts in 1990, their relationship quietly turned romantic. For Tommy, then in his early 40s, and Mariah just barely in her 20s, it was a whirlwind that blended music, power, and attraction. By June 5th, 1993, they were married in what can only be described as a fairy tale wedding, complete with a custom Vera Wang gown and an extravagant ceremony at St. Thomas Church in New York City. The media held them as a music power couple, but behind the scenes, the reality was far less glamorous. In her memoir, The Meaning of Mariah Carey, she revealed that the marriage quickly turned controlling. Tommy's influence over her career extended into her personal life. She described the sprawling mansion they shared as a gilded cage, and I also believe she called it Sing Sing, where security cameras and locked gates kept her movements monitored. Friends and collaborators had to pass strict checks, and even casual outings required permission. Despite the restrictions, Mariah's career thrived, but artistically, she began to crave freedom, and personally, she began to feel trapped. This growing tension spilled into her music, with her 1997 album Butterfly marking not just a creative evolution but a symbolic declaration of independence. By 1997, the cracks were undeniable, and in 1998, Mariah and Tommy officially divorced after 5 years of marriage. The split was highly publicized, with whispers in the industry about power struggles and creative controls. For Mariah, it was both an ending and a beginning, closing the chapter on a marriage that shaped her early career, while opening the door to personal and artistic freedom she's been fighting for. And while Tommy Mottola will go on to remarry and maintain his legacy in the music business, his time with Mariah remains one of the most talked about and complicated relationships in pop music history.
Was that double problems?
Yeah, because people, I think it's very difficult for sports stars as well because the fans are so much a part of it, and they'll say
Derek
stuff.
is mobbed, isn't he?
Yeah, but
so when
also
the two of you went together.
Well, it would depend what type of situation we were in. It's like if we were in something that was more his world, there would be people that came up to me as well, but mainly to him. If we were in another type of situation or another, place where baseball isn't the thing, they would come to me. And I, you know what I mean? And he's a great person. His family is fantastic. I love his sister and his mother and father.
Together?
It just didn't work out.
But you like him just as much as before?
I think he's a great guy. I really do. And I really, really love his family.
So, moving forward, fresh out of her high-profile divorce from Tommy Mottola, Mariah Carey was finally tasting freedom, both creatively and personally. And it was during this new chapter that she would cross paths with the man who was already making headlines of his own, Derek Jeter. At this time, Jeter was the young golden boy of the New York Yankees, charming, athletic, and quickly becoming one of baseball's biggest stars. He was in his early 20s, just like Mariah had been when she first met Tommy. But this time, the dynamic was completely different. Derek wasn't a music executive controlling her career. He was a fellow celebrity in his own right, confident, laid back, and living in a very different world from the one Mariah had just escaped. They reportedly met at a dinner party in 1997, and the connection was instant. In her memoir, Mariah admitted that she was drawn to Derek not just for his looks, but because he represented something she hadn't felt in years: excitement, youth, and a sense of normalcy. He even became an inspiration for her song, The Roof, which she revealed was about the night they shared their first kiss on the rooftop of his New York apartment during a rainstorm. Their relationship was never overexposed in the press, a stark contrast to her marriage. Paparazzi caught glimpses of them leaving restaurants or attending events, but much of what happened between them stayed private. According to Mariah, it wasn't long-term, all-consuming romance, but it came to a time when she needed it most. Derek gave her a taste of freer, lighter love, something far removed from the control and isolation of her previous life. By 1998, the romance had quickly faded, with both moving on to new chapters, but for Mariah, Derek Jeter wasn't just a rebound. He was a symbol of possibility and proof that love could feel safe, fun, and unconfined. And while their time together was brief, it left an imprint, one she later immortalized in music, ensuring their short-lived romance will live on in her catalog forever.
This new Latin heartthrob, is it true? I hardly ever believe anything I read.
That's a good policy, but yeah, it is true.
It is true.
Yeah.
And what his name?
His name Luis Miguel.
Luis Miguel.
Yes.
Oh, he's the big singing star.
Oh,
yes,
dear. Yeah,
he's the big singing
cute.
star.
Isn't he cute?
He's very cute.
He's a great singer.
And a great singer, too.
Yeah.
And so how did it happen? How did you meet?
After her brief but memorable romance with Derek Jeter, Mariah Carey's love life took an even more glamorous turn, this time with the man already considered a legend in his own right, Luis Miguel. Known as El Sol de Mexico, or the Son of Mexico, Luis Miguel was and still is one of the most celebrated Latin music artists in history. By the late 1990s, he had sold millions of albums worldwide, won multiple Grammys, and captivated audiences with his romantic ballads and magnetic stage presence. He was handsome, mysterious, and famously private, the perfect counterpart for a global superstar like Mariah. The two met in 1998 while vacationing in Aspen. At first, Luis Miguel wasn't very familiar with Mariah's work, but once they connected, the chemistry was undeniable. They began dating soon after, embarking on a 3-year romance that fans couldn't get enough of. The pairing of the songbird Supreme and the Son of Mexico felt like something out of a telenovela. Two powerhouse voices, two massive fan bases, and a shared life of luxury. The media loved their lavish getaways, from sun-soaked beaches to candlelit dinners and exotic destinations. Fans, especially in Latin America, adored the match, seeing it as a union of two music royalty figures from different worlds. But in her memoir, The Meaning of Mariah Carey, she revealed a more complicated side of their relationship. While Luis Miguel was loving and attentive, he didn't fully understand or acknowledge Mariah's identity as a Black woman. Mariah, who is biracial and with a Black father and a white mother, she has spoken about the importance of being seen and understood in all aspects of who she is. This difference in perspective created a subtle but persistent gap between them. It wasn't about public image, but about feeling truly known on a deeper cultural level. Combined with the pressures of two demanding careers and constant media attention, that disconnect eventually took its toll. By 2001, the couple quietly went their separate ways, to the disappointment of fans who had hoped they would become long-term power couple. Still, for Mariah, Luis Miguel represents a period of passion, travel, and being loved by someone who understood the demands of superstardom. Even if he didn't fully understand every part of her identity, and for fans, their romance remains one of the most glamorous and talked about chapters in her dating history. After her glamorous but complex romance with Luis Miguel, Mariah Carey's next public connection came not from the world of music or sports, but from the runway. Kristen Monzon, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. If I'm not, I'm so sorry. A Cuban-American model with striking looks and a quiet confidence, first came into Mariah's orbit in the mid-2000s. The year was 2005, and Mariah was in the middle of a career renaissance with the emancipation of Mimi. Kristen was cast as her love interest in the sultry music video Don't Forget About Us, and the chemistry on screen was undeniable. Fans immediately began speculating that their on-camera passion had spilled into real life, and before long, paparazzi's photos confirmed the rumors. The two were spotted together at industry events, private dinners, and on vacation, their body language speaking volumes. Kristen was different from high-pressure relationships Mariah had been in before. He wasn't a music mogul or an international superstar. He was someone outside of her usual Hollywood and industry circle. Insiders described their relationship as playful and romantic, a low-key yet passionate chapter at a time when Mariah's professional life was back at its peak. Still, the romance was relatively short-lived. By 2006, the two had gone their separate ways. For Mariah, Kristen wasn't a long-term partner, but rather a moment, a visual, emotional snapshot in a time when she was reclaiming her independence, her confidence, and her power. And while their love story was brief, it remains immortalized in one of the most seductive videos, a reminder that sometimes even the short chapters can leave a lasting impression. By 2008, Mariah Carey had been in the industry for nearly 2 decades, and she was no stranger to high-profile romances. But nothing could have prepared the public for her whirlwind love story with actor, comedian, and TV host Nick Cannon. Their paths first crossed in the early 2000s, but sparks didn't fly until Nick was cast as Mariah's love interest in the music video for her song Bye Bye. What started as on-set chemistry quickly turned into a whirlwind romance. And within just weeks of dating, Nick was head over heels. By April 30th, 2008, after less than 2 months together, the couple shocked fans and the media by marrying in a private ceremony at Mariah's Bahamas estate. From the outside, it was a fairy tale. Nick, 11 years younger, seemed utterly devoted to Mariah. He called her his dream girl in interviews, showered her with grand gestures, and wore his love on his sleeve. They renewed their vows every year, sometimes in lavish public ceremonies, sometimes in intimate private moments, making them one of Hollywood's most affectionate couples. By 2011, their love story expanded when Mariah gave birth to their twins, Moroccan and Monroe, or Rock and Row, as they became known to as fans. The birth of their children was celebrated worldwide, with Nick and Mariah proudly embracing the role of doting parents. But behind the glitter and smiling red carpet appearances, cracks began to show. Mariah's intense schedule and Nick's growing list of projects, from hosting America's Got Talent to launching multiple business ventures, often kept them apart. Rumors of tension began circulating, fueled by whispers that Nick's constant interviews and public oversharing didn't always sit well with Mariah, who valued a level of privacy in her personal life. Then came the tabloids, claiming that jealousy, arguments, and differing lifestyles was creating an irreparable rift. While neither confirmed all the speculation, by August 2014, Nick publicly acknowledged that they had been living separately for months. The couple officially divorced in 2016, ending what had once been the most unexpected yet celebrated unions in pop culture. Even after their split, the drama didn't fully fade. Nick has since made headlines for his overexpanding family with multiple women, leading fans to look back at his marriage to Mariah with even more fascination. Yet, despite it all, Mariah has said they remain committed co-parents, putting their twins first. Their romance was fast, fiery, and unforgettable. A love story that burned bright, left its mark, and gave the world two little Careys to carry the legacy forward.
There's an insane story behind Mariah Carey's $10 million engagement ring. Mariah Carey got engaged to Australian billionaire James Packer in 2016, and even though they split before the wedding happened, Packer gave her a $10 million engagement ring. She chose a 35-carat emerald-cut diamond flanked by 2 tapered baguettes. And when they broke up, Mariah Carey sued James Packer for wasting her time. Not only did she get to keep the ring, she got a multi-million-dollar settlement from him. Which crazy jewelry story should I talk about next?
I was eating the food. I don't know whether they had some food there that was just pretty good. I mean, you know.
The police is investigating if Mr. Packer gave Mr. Netanyahu his wife presents.
Yeah, I don't know. I was just there because I was invited to a dinner.
What do you remember from the dinner?
There was a talk, conversation, food, dinner.
Please.
So
They were trying to find
Ellen,
Mr. Packer.
I
They
don't
couldn't
know
find
where
him.
the motherfucker is. How am I supposed to know? No, for real.
You have no idea where Mr. Packer is.
You almost said something else, didn't you?
No, I did not.
Yes, you
You
did.
have no idea where he is?
I don't know, somewhere doing something.
After her highly publicized split from Nick Cannon, Mariah Carey's next romance seemed pulled from the pages of a billionaire fairy tale, but it soon spiraled into one of the most dramatic chapters in pop culture romance. Enter James Packer, the Australian casino tycoon and heir to a multi-billion-dollar empire. They first met around 2014, but their relationship didn't go from friendship to romance until mid-2015. From the moment they took the red carpet, they were tabloid gold. The songbird supreme, paired with one of the globe's wealthiest men, James spared no expense. Private yachts cruising the Mediterranean, champagne nights, and an iconic 35-carat diamond ring that cost somewhere between $5 to $10 million. In January 2016, he proposed, and the gesture was so grand, Mariah joked afterwards, "It's so heavy, I can't lift my arm up." But behind the glitz, tension was mounting. According to reports, James clashed with Mariah's inner circle, complained about her extravagant spending. One source claimed she spent $100,000 per month on exotic flowers, and even criticized her reality show, Mariah's World. Some insiders said James was mentally and emotionally not in a healthy place to support her lifestyle. The relationship hit its breaking point during a vacation in Greece in September 2016, culminating in a massive blowout fight. By October 2016, the engagement was canceled, but that's when the real drama began. Mariah reportedly sued James for a $50 million inconvenience fee, citing emotional and professional disruption caused by the split. In November 2017, sources confirmed they reached a multi-million-dollar settlement, and Mariah walked away with her monumental ring intact. In 2018, the story took another twist. Mariah quietly sold the ring, designed by her longtime friend Wilfredo Rosado, for approximately $2.1 million to an LA jeweler, all under a non-disclosure agreement. Her publicist explained the move as symbolic, leaving emotional and material baggage behind. Sources emphasized that it wasn't financial necessity. Mariah owned multiple homes, music catalog rights, and successful residencies. She simply wanted to move forward. James later described the relationship as a mistake for both of us. But for Mariah, it was a chapter of expensive love, public scrutiny, and a spectacular implosion.
Mariah Carey's super hot Asian boyfriend. His name is Bryan Tanaka and his father is Japanese. Actually known her for over 10 years. He's one of her backup dancers. Rumored that he's the cause of the breakup between her and her billionaire ex. She's 52 and he's 39. Get it, Mariah?
Okay, I'm sorry.
After the billionaire breakup with James Packer, Mariah Carey's love life took a more personal turn, trading in yachts and multi-million-dollar rings for a relationship that began right in her own inner circle. Bryan Tanaka wasn't just any man. He was one of Mariah's backup dancers, a creative director, and someone who had been a part of her world for years. Fans first noticed their undeniable chemistry during her tours and performances. But it wasn't until late 2016, just weeks after her engagement to James Packer ended, that Bryan stepped out of the background and into the spotlight as Mariah's new love interest. At first, some critics dismissed it as a rebound, but the connection was real. Bryan was younger, 13 years her junior, and brought an energy and playfulness into her life. They were spotted on romantic vacations in Hawaii, cozy nights in Los Angeles, and red carpet appearances where Bryan often looked at her like she was the only person in the room. But with Mariah Carey, love stories rarely comes without headlines, and this one quickly developed an on and off again pattern. In 2017, they split briefly, with sources claiming Bryan's jealousy over Mariah's continued contact with James Packer caused friction.
People don't tell you that enough. You're a great person.
Seeing Mariah and James all touchy-feely, it doesn't seem real, but seeing it in real life, I guess it's real.
I love it so much.
He was reportedly uncomfortable with her keeping the engagement ring, a piece of jewelry that at the time was still making headlines. Still, they couldn't stay apart for long. Within months, they reunited, and over the next several years, they built a rhythm. Part romance, part professional partnership, with Bryan often working on her tours and stage productions. Fans became invested watching their Instagram posts and public appearances for clues about the state of their relationship. But by late 2023, rumors began swirling again. Insiders hinted that the romance had cooled, pointing to different priorities, with Mariah focusing on her children and music. Then, in December 2023, Bryan himself confirmed the split in an emotional Instagram post. In it, he thanked Mariah for an incredible ride, spoke about the deep respect and love he still had for her, and expressed gratitude for their years together. It was the first time either of them publicly addressed the breakup, making it official for fans who had been speculating for months. For Mariah, Bryan Tanaka wasn't a billionaire, or a global superstar icon, or a global sports icon. He was someone who knew her world from the inside, danced beside her under the stage lights, and shared moments away from the cameras. And while it didn't last forever, it proved that sometimes love can come from the most familiar places and still keep everyone guessing until the very end. So, that's Mariah's dating history, the billionaires, the ball players, the dancers, and the quiet in-betweens. We've seen whirlwind proposals, public breakups, lawsuits, and love songs that will live forever. And you know what? Watching it all laid out like this, I think there's something we can all take from it. First, Mariah has never been afraid to love big. She doesn't tiptoe into relationships, she jumps into it with both feet. And maybe a diamond ring or two. And sure, not every chapter ended with a happily ever after, but she never let one heartbreak keep her from trying again. There's a lesson in that, to keep your heart open even when it's been bruised. Second, she's proof that you can walk away when something no longer serves you. Whether it was a controlling marriage, a short-lived fling, or a billionaire romance that crashed and burned, Mariah always found a way to reclaim her narrative. Sometimes that means closing the doors, even if the world is still watching. And third, she's shown us that your personal story is yours to tell. Mariah's been through relationships that the tabloids tried to define, but in the end, she tells it her way, through her music, her memoir, and her own words, which is power. So maybe that's what we all can learn here. Love how you want to love, walk away when you need to, and never let anyone else write your story for you. Anyway, that's all I've got for today's deep dive. If you enjoyed this trip through the love life of the songbird supreme, hit that like button, subscribe for more celebrity deep dives, and tell me in the comments which Mariah romance surprised you the most. Until next time, thanks for watching, and remember, in love and in life, always hit the high note. See you in my next one.
Can we just finish it up calmly?
It's really
and
obnoxious.
then...
You don't, I've been put through hell for the last couple of months over this interview, and you're not going to f me over now. Well then...